I, 32 years old female, have been with my now husband, 33 years old male, for 11 years in a relationship. 3 years out of the 11 were in a long-distance relationship. I have made a lot of sacrifices for this person. I moved to another country where I have no family or friends. I was supporting him financially for 5 years. He had some of his own pocket money per month before our wedding, and the list goes on. He has also done things for us, but in a more subtle way and with much less effort. We decided to proceed to arrange a wedding after he started working for his brother. His brother lives here with his own family, and we live as a couple alone, not in the same house. After he gathered an amount he thought would be enough, we arranged to have a wedding in his city. The reason we arranged it there varied from the lack of support I did not have from my parents to the fake expectations set by my in-laws. I worked very hard to plan the wedding since it was in a city mostly unknown to me and I needed support from people around us. There was limited to no help from his parents and almost no help from him. Most of my wedding dress appointments I was alone for, while I was always with him for his suit search. I worked really hard to lose weight and lost 35 pounds in 6 to 7 months. 2 weeks before the wedding were super chaotic as I tried to run and figure everything out. His one main responsibility was the music. His family wanted their traditional music live, and they claimed they could also support our traditional music too. That was not entirely true. They had limited knowledge of songs. For me, the wedding was not worth it in the end. I feel like I paid for the celebration of his family rather than for our wedding. He had 130 people from his side, and I had 40 people from my side. Their music was overwhelming, and they barely left a chance for my family to celebrate with me. The venue was very small in the end, but they insisted on this one because there was good food. His uncle was one of the biggest pains. He wanted to dictate the wedding and was yelling that we should do whatever plan he wanted. For example, we decided to greet the people before starting dancing, and he was rushing us, saying it was getting too late and wanted us to not greet my side of the family. The list goes on and on. I did not enjoy the venue at all. To summarize chronologically, the entrance around 10 to 11 p.m. was pretty, but my dress was laced too tight, and I looked very fat. The thing is that no one noticed to tell me about it at that moment, from the photographer to the maid of honor, who actually mentioned it to my mom or my sister. No one actually informed me about it. I only saw it later on the photos shared with me. All my photos from our dancing to cutting the cake to saying cheers are so unflattering for me. For the first 10 minutes, I was dancing nicely, but my brother-in-law suggested another route, and from that moment, people were stepping on my feet during the dance, and it got ruined. I spent too much time in the bathroom trying to fix my makeup while my husband was out dancing the whole time and having a blast. He says he did not have fun and thought it was mandatory that he needed to dance. Well, the dance kept going without him there too. My husband randomly decided when I should throw the bouquet, and he never informed my photographer. This led to missed video footage of me throwing it. I became really sad about this, and people were very confused about why I was dragging out the song. I was not able to dance as much as I wanted. The dance floor was always full, and there was no space for me to enter. If I did, I would get stepped on and mostly disregarded. No one seemed to care anyway, not even the groom. By 3 a.m., the son of the not-so-nice uncle was playing live music. He was not good. No one asked us if we wanted that or not. They just decided on their own and did what they wanted. Though the groom had no problem with it anyway, he liked it. The photographer had to leave by that time, and she asked me about the promised party time. I informed the groom and he had to change scenarios fast. He wanted to have his own dance first. It was a fun part, even though no women could dance on that one. After that, we played some party music, in which I can say I danced the most before the photographer left. That was the moment when my family and I were more free to dance, and they left some room for us. It was also late, so quite a lot of people were leaving too. I feel like his family was trying super hard to take the spotlight regardless of whether I was there or not. The groom never really cared about it, and barely approached or stayed with me. I felt miserable then, and I still feel the same. When I express to him how it is for me, he just says I'm overreacting and that it was not as bad as I say. I truly believe that for him, it was super nice, but not for me. I am happy that the people who attended were active, but it feels like they were trying to overshadow me and my whole family. I'm still waiting for the whole wedding video to see more details on some things, but I'm pretty sure I will be upset. What do you think? I just received photos, and there are so many of the people that upset me and disregarded me. I don't want to share them with them. I feel like I want to just delete the photos and actually filter out moments that disregarded my side and keep only the ones where we are all together. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. It is a really sad story, from start to this wedding. I wonder when enough will be enough for you. You have been used and trampled on long before this wedding. You are very loyal and strong and resilient, but I feel you are wasting yourself on the wrong man. I would recommend therapy for you before you waste more years giving to this man without getting anything back from him. You should not give more than you get. There needs to be a balance in a relationship. You need to take care of yourself. Comment 2. Wedding disaster aside, how have the first 2 months of marriage been? The wedding was already an indicator that your husband prioritizes himself and his family's needs over yours. I'm genuinely curious as to whether it's been smooth sailing since the wedding, or if seeing the wedding photos is just piling on to other issues. As for the photos, it sounds like you're not in the right frame of mind to be viewing them. Put them away and address the issues with the wedding with your husband first. Now, for the update. It's been a little over a month since the wedding, and I finally got the wedding video. I watched it with my husband, hoping to see some happy moments. The video showed my husband dancing with his family while I stood by myself. I noticed my husband's uncle taking over during the ceremony, interrupting our vows. I decided to post a few photos on social media, focusing on my family. My husband commented on the post, saying I should include more from his side. A few days later, his family set up a family dinner to celebrate his birthday. I decided to go to support my husband, even though I had my doubts. At dinner, everyone was in a good mood, sharing inside jokes. His family brought up the wedding and how perfect it was, which annoyed me. During dinner, the uncle said I should have let them handle the music. I explained that I had a plan for our special day. This led to a heated discussion, with my husband backing up his uncle. After dinner, my husband asked me to help clean up, but I said no. I went to the living room to watch TV while his family cleaned the kitchen. Later that night, my husband confronted me about not helping, saying it was rude. A week later, we were invited to a holiday gathering with his family for Thanksgiving. At Thanksgiving, the family argued over who would carve the turkey. I overheard his mom saying she hoped we would have kids soon. After dinner, I stepped outside for fresh air and found myself alone. He said I needed to be more flexible with his family. This led to a bigger argument about our priorities and future plans. Our conversation got heated, and my husband said I was being selfish. I decided to leave the gathering early, feeling defeated. Later, I packed a bag and went to stay with a friend for a few days. He seemed confused and frustrated, asking if this meant we were breaking up. Mini update. I spent a few days with a friend, reflecting on everything. I decided to go home and talk to my husband. We had a long conversation, discussing our future and the issues with his family. We agreed to seek couples counseling together, hoping to find a better path forward. Am I the idiot for writing in my diary at 12 and now my mom wants to ruin my life over it? Am I the idiot for writing in my diary when I was 12 and now my mom wants to ruin my life over it? Basically, when I was 12, 7 years ago, I made a diary. I would vent in whenever I was emotional because kids, many times after an argument with my mom or whenever she made me mad, I would write things in there about her. Examples included, I hate my mom so much, or my mom is a jerk, or I wish I had a different mom, and other things of that sort. I would also make drawings of my family when I was mad at them, and write things like fat pig or jerk on their faces, or whatever insults my 12-year-old mind could think of. I lost it a while ago, and today my mom came into my room completely furious, holding up the diary. She screamed at me for over an hour and completely ripped my room apart. I apologized to her countless times and tried to explain that I was young and immature, and all I was thinking at the time was how to get my anger out. I feel terrible because I know how she probably feels right now, reading horrible things her own daughter wrote about her, but at the same time, I was 12 years old. I've grown up, matured, recognized what I did wrong, and my relationship with my mom is actually pretty good now. But understandably, she's still angry and refuses to speak to me. She also posted a photo album of everything I wrote about my other family members in the family group chat. My dad said he was a little surprised, but honestly didn't care that much because he understood I was a kid back then, and he knows I'm not that kind of person now. Anyway, my mom is threatening to stop paying my college tuition because I'm clearly very ungrateful to her. Even though I told her so many times that isn't true. I explained everything I wrote in the diary was stupid, and I don't really know how to excuse it, besides the fact that I was a kid, but I felt deeply sorry. Does anyone have advice on how to remedy this situation? If any parents could respond with your perspective, that would be great as well. My mom and I spent years fixing our relationship from past toxicity, and it's been so good for the past year. I just want things to go back to the way they were. Thanks in advance. To add, thank you all for the advice. Your comments are helping me realize a lot of things about my mom and my relationship with her. For now, I'm going to leave her alone and go to my friend's house for a few days. I have nowhere to sleep at home anyway, since she destroyed everything in my room. Some of you were wondering why my dad didn't step in. He's a bit of an enabler when it comes to my mom and likes to defend her. Plus, he's probably scared because she can get physical when they argue. I am also dependent on my mom to afford college tuition, even though I work 2 jobs, so I don't really have a choice but to be nice to her and hope she will calm down after a while. About the post in the family group chat, I have 2 older siblings who saw it and immediately called me to tell me how insane she was acting, but they also can't really do anything since they both live out of the country. My other family members, aunts and uncles, have said nothing yet. I'm guessing because they don't want to get involved and have her scream at them as well. Everyone knows what my mom is like, they just refuse to acknowledge it and confront her. I probably won't respond to any comments as I try to sort out this mess, but I really appreciate everyone's kindness. Have a great night. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your mom sounds unhinged. Does she not remember how mad she would get at her own parents when she was a kid? I'm older than her, and I know there were times I hated my mom, and if I had had a diary, I would have written it down. Of course, that didn't last, but kids are known for strong emotions. Your mom posting your diary online is vile, and honestly, I can see where the toxicity in the relationship came from. I doubt there's anything you can do, outside of apologizing, which is what you've done. Can you move in with your dad and just get a job to help pay for school? There's something wrong with your mom, and she's not rational. Comment 2. Your mom shouldn't have read your diary. Full stop. I am a mom, and my kids are adults now. I'm sure they hated me sometimes when they were teenagers. I never snooped in any of their things. I've always believed in privacy. The fact that your mom read your diary, freaked out over it, and then blasted your 12-year-old private thoughts to all your loved ones is unhinged behavior. You may have to have a side conversation with everyone she dragged into this and let them know that you were young and unhappy. I'm sure they will be okay with it. As for your mom, is she often like this? Or is this something new? Now for the update. Just over a month has passed since my mom found my diary, and things have only gotten more complicated. After taking some time at a friend's place, I returned home, hoping for a chill convo. My mom seemed distant, barely acknowledging me as I walked in. I tried to approach her, but she quickly left the room. My dad suggested I give her more time, which I kinda agreed to. I focused on my college apps, trying to distract myself from the tension. A week later, my mom called a family meeting without telling me. My older siblings joined via video call, and the vibe felt heavy. My mom brought up my diary again, this time blaming my disrespect for our family. She insisted that I should apologize to everyone in the family group chat. I typed out a long apology and sent it, hoping it would help. My siblings responded with support, but my mom stayed silent. Days passed, and my mom still wouldn't talk to me directly. I overheard her on the phone with a family friend, saying I was ungrateful and self-centered. I decided to reach out to my aunt, who has always been more understanding. My aunt invited me over for dinner, saying she wanted to catch up. During dinner, she brought up family dynamics and how tough they can be. I mentioned my mom's reaction to my diary, and my aunt seemed concerned. She shared stories of her own childhood conflicts with my grandma. A few days later, my mom announced we would have a family dinner to discuss things. She decided to host it at her fave Italian restaurant. At the dinner, my mom brought up my siblings' childhood mistakes, trying to compare them to mine. My older brother Jake chimed in, defending me, saying we were all kids once. My mom seemed to soften, but quickly steered the convo back to my diary. She insisted that I needed to own up to my past actions. My sister Kate tried to lighten the mood, joking about how bad our family photos used to be. My mom laughed, but then immediately returned to her serious tone. After dinner, my mom pulled me aside and said I needed to start taking responsibility. She mentioned cutting my college funds again, which felt like a punch to the gut. A few days after that, I learned my dad had been quietly meeting with a financial advisor. I confronted him, and he admitted he was worried about my mom's behavior and its impact on me. He said he was considering setting up a separate college fund for me, away from her control. I overheard my mom discussing plans to have a family gathering for Thanksgiving, which made me anxious. I started preparing for the gathering, knowing it might be a mess. As the date approached, I realized the stakes were getting higher, and family tensions were reaching a boiling point. Edit. My mom has since calmed down a bit, but the tension remains. Thanksgiving dinner went better than expected, with no major arguments. My dad's plan for a separate fund is in the works. Am I the idiot for suggesting divorce after my wife wanted an open marriage and then moved in with another man? Am I the idiot for suggesting divorce after my wife wanted to open our marriage? For some context, my wife and I have been married for over 3 years and together for 5. We don't have any children together, and we live in a metropolitan area. We both have well-paid jobs and good careers. Now, I don't know what I did wrong, but 2 days ago, my wife sat me down and told me that she wants to open our marriage. I was very distraught at this suggestion and asked if I did anything wrong and whether we needed to work on something. She said it's none of those cases. It's just that she misses the attention from people and wants to explore this side of herself now that she has become more successful. I said then, it is about attention, so was I lacking somewhere? She said it's not that. She has just missed some things and wants to explore for her own peace of mind. I asked if she had someone in mind and she said no. I suggested to her that this was a pretty abstract idea to explore and reclaim something when we both should be thinking about the future and preparing for children. She got offended and started trying meaningless things, which I don't want to mention here. Most of it was just basic gaslighting. I flat out refused this, but she started pressing the issue more. I felt like this was something she really wanted, so I suggested that we should have a divorce because I cannot picture someone I actually vowed to spend my whole life with being with another man. The thought of my wife having intimate relations with someone else just literally stabs me. She said no to the divorce part because she said she really loved me and wanted to just have that experience. I asked her if she wanted to form emotional relationships with any other person, and she said, if it came to that point, to be honest, I'm not keen on this situation because sure, it might seem good at first, but I know my looks and personality. I am a 6 or 7 at best. People have called me attractive, but my front camera says otherwise. Also, I know that I will eventually get jealous and paranoid while she goes out with multiple men, and I can't deal with that. So, I asked her for some time to think. She said fine, and the night continued as usual. Now, I am seriously not the type of guy who goes out and has casual relationships. To be specific, I am repulsed by that idea. For me, if she wants to sleep with other men, she is free to do so, but please leave me out of it. I would rather divorce amicably and move to a different state and cut all contact. In my mind, it would be out of sight, out of mind. But she is refusing the divorce. I don't know what to do. It's also true that I cannot force her to be monogamous if she doesn't want to. But this is a deadlock scenario. So I would really like some advice on how to tackle this situation. Additionally, I'm just worried about divorce and what if she drags out the process. It can be draining both mentally and financially, and I really want to save my assets. From the looks of it, if she really does love me and prefers to stay with me, she is not going to let me leave so easily. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Most people here who discussed opening up their marriage got divorced anyway, because one partner was never really on board with it. They only did it to appease their partner and hoped they would eventually realize they wanted a closed marriage. What happens is that once your partner has intimacy with someone else, it will unalive any feelings of love and respect you had for them. You should tell your wife that if you go this route, there is a good chance she will lose you forever, and is it worth that to her? If she says yes, then let her go. You will find someone else, no problem. Comment 2. Just to reinforce what others say, she already has someone in mind. She may have already cheated or will do so if you refuse her request. She refuses to listen to your objections about her request. While it's easier if she agrees, she doesn't need your permission to divorce you. So, see a lawyer and serve her the papers. You can always withdraw them if you see a real change in her. A strong stance is required here as she is dictating everything about this relationship. Now for the update. It's been almost 2 days since the talk about opening the marriage. I decided to hit up a bar after work to clear my head. I ran into Mike, an old college buddy. You know how it is. You're just trying to grab a drink and forget about stuff, and suddenly there's a familiar face. He asked me about the marriage, and I told him what was going on and how I felt stuck. He then suggested that maybe I should try dating casually too. I totally brushed that off. I told him it wouldn't fix anything. Later that night, I got a text from my wife asking about dinner plans. I replied that I would be home late. Honestly, I was just feeling a bit overwhelmed and didn't want to deal with anything. The next morning, I found her gone with a note saying she was out with friends. I spent the whole day at home trying to distract myself with work, but nothing was working. That evening, she came back, smelling like perfume, but it was one I didn't recognize. I asked her about it, and she just laughed it off, saying it was a gift from a friend. I let it go, but later I noticed a missed call from an unknown number on her phone. I got curious, so I decided to check her messages. I found texts with someone named Alex talking about meeting up. I confronted her about Alex, and she claimed it was just a friend. We got into a heated argument in our living room. She accused me of invading her privacy, and that's when I got defensive. She insisted she wasn't cheating, but the vibe in the room was heavy, and we both knew it. A few days later, we went to a family dinner at my parents' house. I was already on edge because I knew my mom would be all about playing matchmaker or asking when we were going to start having kids. During dinner, my mom casually brought up the topic of grandkids. My wife smiled but looked uncomfortable. I noticed it, and I was sure my mom did too. After dinner, we stepped outside for some fresh air, and I decided to bring up the earlier fight. Out of nowhere, she just blurted out that she had been seeing Alex for a few weeks. She insisted it was only physical and didn't mean anything serious. I mean, what do you even say to that? The family dinner ended awkwardly, with my parents sensing something was off, but not knowing what. The following week, we had a huge fight about trust and boundaries. It was like all the built-up frustration just exploded. She suggested we see a counselor, but I wasn't into that idea. It felt like we were too far gone for therapy. I started spending more time at work, just trying to avoid conversations at home. I was like a ghost in my own house. One night, I found her texting Alex again while sitting on the couch. I just lost it. I grabbed her phone, and she reacted so angrily, claiming I was controlling. I was just like, what do you expect me to do? In a fit of frustration, I suggested that we should just separate. To my shock, she agreed, saying maybe it was for the best. A week later, I got a call from my sister checking in on me. That's when I found out my wife had decided to take a trip with Alex. I mean, wow, right? My sister was just like, "Are you okay?" And I was just standing there thinking, is this my life now? Edit, it's been a week since my wife left. She took her stuff and moved in with Alex. I haven't heard from her, and honestly, I'm not sure what to expect next. My sister has been a great support, checking in daily. She suggested that I consider legal advice, but I haven't reached out to anyone yet. I still have a lot of unanswered questions about finances and living arrangements. For now, I'm focusing on work and trying to keep myself busy. I don't know if I want to know more about Alex or what happened between them. Right now, I'm just trying to cope day by day. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.